We were enjoying a camping trip in a tiny RV park, and our spot happened to be right next to the area where people set up their tents. Surprisingly, there were open spots in the entire camping area. I couldn't quite fathom why the person managing the RV park decided to place a group of rowdy folks right next to us. This bunch of 7 young people showed up in an SUV, and it was pretty clear they weren't seasoned campers. Rather than enjoying the tranquility of a tent, they were all about partying, getting really loud and hanging out until the wee hours. Witnessing their attempts to set up tents was like watching a comedy show. It seemed like a genuine challenge for them. The noise from their party and blaring music persisted until 4 in the morning, and to make matters worse, they kept the portable party light headlights on, shining directly into our RV. After putting up with it for a while, my husband, seeking some peace and quiet, mustered the courage to approach them. He politely asked if they could turn off their lights, with no intention of starting a fight. But to our surprise, their response was far from friendly. One of the young men, fueled by anger, pulled out a gun, yelling at my husband and asking if he wanted to die. The young man, in his intoxicated state, struggled to load the gun with bullets, which kept dropping to the ground. Concerned for our safety, my husband swiftly intervened. He ran over, tackled the man to the ground, and managed to disarm him. I immediately called the police, and upon their arrival, the unruly group was arrested. Unfortunately, our peaceful camping trip took an unexpected turn, and we had to pack up and leave after the police took them away. It was a startling experience that made us appreciate the importance of camping in a safe and peaceful environment. Once upon a time, when I was just a 13-year-old kid, my dad had just bought his brand new RV, and we were itching to embark on our first camping adventure. My older brother, my dad, and I were headed to a picturesque campsite surrounded by lush woods. Excitement filled the air as we arrived at the campsite, but for some reason, we decided to set up a tent outside the RV. Maybe it was the thrill of sleeping under the stars, or the nostalgia of traditional camping. Little did we know that this decision would lead to one of the strangest and most mysterious experiences of my life. Night fell, and we all settled into our sleeping bags inside the tent. The soft sounds of nature lulled us into a peaceful slumber. However, my tranquil night took a bizarre turn when I was jolted awake by a strange voice whispering, "The night will fall." Groggy and disoriented, I opened my eyes just in time to catch a glimpse of a tall figure darting away from my sleeping bag. Confused and half awake, I tried to make sense of what was happening. Before I could process it all, I realized I was in the middle of the woods, alone in my sleeping bag. Panic set in as I realized I had no idea where I was, or how I ended up there. The once familiar surroundings of our campsite were replaced by the shadows of towering trees. Frantically, I called out for my dad. Through the darkness, I heard his panicked voice responding, but he seemed so far away. I stumbled through the woods, my heart pounding in my chest, desperately trying to find my way back to the safety of our campsite. As I ventured deeper into the woods, the night sounds became eerier and the trees seemed to close in around me. Just when I thought I might be lost forever, I stumbled upon our campsite. My dad and brother were there, looking as bewildered as I felt. What sent a shiver down our spines was that in the morning, my dad and I saw a drag mark that seemed like someone or something dragging me out of the tent while sleeping. To this day, the mystery of how I ended up in the middle of the woods during that camping trip remains unsolved. One thing's for sure. That camping trip became a tale we'd share around the campfire for years. A story that left us all with a lingering sense of wonder and a touch of unease whenever we recalled that peculiar night in the woods. It was a chilly night in the middle of nowhere as my husband Tom and I parked our RV in a desolate area surrounded by dense woods. We were on a road trip, seeking a peaceful night's rest, but little did we know that tranquility would soon turn into terror. As we settled in for the night, The RV's creaks and groans echoed through the stillness, creating an eerie atmosphere. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Ignoring my unease, I convinced myself it was just my imagination. Around midnight, a sudden noise jolted me awake. I strained my ears, trying to identify the source. Tom was still asleep beside me, unaware of the growing sense of dread. The noise persisted. Now distinct footsteps were approaching the RV. Fear gripped me as I nudged Tom awake, whispering urgently. He grabbed his flashlight and a small pistol we kept for emergencies. As the footsteps drew closer, the atmosphere inside the RV became stifling. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared outside the window, peering in with malevolent intent. To our horror, the stranger was holding an axe. He then hit the door and yelled, "Open up!" He kept on hitting our door with his axes. I felt my heart race as Tom, panic evident in his eyes, aimed the gun and fired a warning shot. The deafening sound echoed through the night, momentarily drowning out the approaching footsteps. The intruder staggered back, a mixture of surprise and fear on their faces. Tom shouted, warning them to stay away, but the stranger persisted, trying to force their way inside. The RV became a battleground, a small metal fortress against an unknown threat. Tom fired another shot into the air, the noise reverberating through the night. It seemed to deter the intruder, who hesitated before disappearing into the darkness. We listened anxiously, praying they wouldn't return. The place doesn't have service, so we couldn't call the police, so we got our things ready to leave. As we drove away from that desolate spot, the memory of that harrowing night lingered, a chilling reminder of the thin line between tranquility and terror on the open road. This happened to me back in 2003. I never believed in haunted stuff, you know? But after I bought that old RV, things got weird really fast. It was a steal. The price was too good to pass up. The first night on the road, I heard creaks and groans like the RV was alive. I chalked it up to it being an old beast settling into the night. Then the lights started flickering on and off, and I couldn't figure out why. I checked the wiring a dozen times, but everything seemed fine. The RV is home to me because I park it and live in it in my brother's driveway. One evening, I decided to watch TV to distract myself from the strange happenings. As I flipped through the channels, the screen suddenly went black. I could hear whispers, low and eerie, like someone talking just out of reach. I yanked the plug, and the whispers faded away. I freaked out, and I convinced myself it was some glitch. But then the shadows started moving on their own. I'd see them out of the corner of my eye, slithering across the walls. I thought maybe it was just my tired mind playing tricks. One night, though, I woke up to the sound of footsteps. It was as clear as day, like someone pacing the length of the RV. Heart pounding, I grabbed a flashlight and searched every nook and cranny, but there was no one. The worst part was the feeling of being watched. It was like a pair of unseen eyes boring into me, making my skin crawl. No matter where I went, that sensation followed. I even considered selling the RV, but I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever haunted it was somehow connected to me. One evening, I mustered the courage to confront whatever was going on. I sat in the dim light trying to communicate with whatever unseen presence shared the RV with me. The air felt heavy, and a sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut. I heard a whisper, soft yet clear, saying, "Leave." I didn't waste any time, got out of the RV, and ran inside my brother's house. The next day I posted it, the RV for sale, and weeks later I finally sold it. The feeling of being watched lifted, and the shadows stopped their mysterious dance. That haunted RV, with its strange occurrences, became a chapter of my life I wanted to forget. But even now, the memory sends shivers down my spine. It was a dark and chilly night, and we were camping deep in the spooky forest. The crackling of the campfire was the only sound breaking the eerie silence. 3 of our friends went RV camping in the middle of the forest. As the fire started to dwindle, we decided to call it a night. We turned off the lanterns and settled into our RV. I tried to shake off the creepy thoughts and closed my eyes, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by a strange rustling sound outside. I sat up, heart pounding, and glanced at the window. That's when I saw her, a lady in a flowing red dress, standing just beyond the tree line. Her hair covered her face, and she stood there, motionless. I nudged my friend, whispering, "Do you see that lady in red?" Everyone rubbed their eyes and peered out the window. There she was, still as a statue, staring right at us. Fear crept through the RV as we tried to make sense of it. "Maybe she's lost," someone suggested nervously. But her gaze was unnerving, sending shivers down our spines. We mustered the courage to investigate. Slowly, we opened the creaky RV door and stepped outside. The forest was unusually silent, as if nature itself held its breath. The lady in red remained, but as we approached, she vanished into the darkness. The air turned colder, and we hurried back inside, locking the door behind us. The RV felt smaller and more claustrophobic. We sat in a huddle, wondering if what we saw was real or just a trick of the imagination. As we nervously laughed off the encounter, a soft tapping echoed through the RV. We turned around to see a red figure slowly appearing on the window, as if someone were on the other side, desperately trying to get in. Panicking, we started the engine and sped away from that haunted campsite. The lady in red and her ghostly figure haunted our dreams for nights to come. A chilling reminder of the night we encountered something otherworldly in the heart of the mysterious forest.